political, social, and economic factors that govern the laws in the country, particularly the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, and in consonance with the global position as it does exist. And therefore, I will segmentize my talk into three sections. We will talk about Islam first. We will talk about modernity next. And we will talk about the afflictions of clear thought on both these subjects when it comes to affecting societies, nation states, or the global canvas as it does exist for politics, economics, and social harmony. Addressing Islam first, we have to first visit the issue of religion, the relevance of religion to begin with. Islam is a religion, and if you go into the definition of religion, then it is a platitude of belief or a set of beliefs that a society adopts, preferably with unanimity, control, govern, and manage societies. This religion, from the dictionary point of view, is so remote. In the history of man, we have seen that the recipe for religion has emerged from two sources. One has been presumed to be divine, and the other is man-made. Then the further classification of religion is based on monotheism, i.e. the worship of one deity, and the other is based on the worship of more than one deity. But religion, in its own right, is and has been always assumed to be the superhuman force, the superhuman base for knowledge which a society can submit to. That means the level of knowledge which does exist at any given point in time with any society. It has been seen that the religion they have adopted is of a higher latitude, where the knowledge base is larger than the knowledge base of the society generally available. This being the case, we have a huge list of religions, both man-made and presumed divine, that have come to the world. Some have stayed and some have become. Now, when we refer to divine religions, divine recipes that came in to be adopted as religions, from the Islamic perspective, they have all been monotheistic religions, starting from Adam up to the last prophet, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now, these these religions which evolved, even the divine religions that evolved over a period of time, were usually close or akin to the level of knowledge that did exist in any given society. So when you talk of the religion brought in by Jesus, prior to him by Moses, prior to him by Abraham, him by Noah, prior to him by Adam, they are presumed to be divine religions. They are all monotheistic in nature. However, when the last message of Islam did emerge, it came with finality. One other point which I need to essentially make about religions before we proceed to Islam is that all religions were meant for societies and not for individuals. No religion came to the earth, whether man-made or divine, which was for an individual. It was always for society, and it was with a purpose for refining society, for enhancing the knowledge base of society, for bringing about social harmony, for bringing about equity, for bringing about material and social justice. So when we talk about, for instance, we talk about Karl Marx, we will find a man who was extremely concerned about the health of the society, and he, with his own wisdom, his own mortal human wisdom, proposed a certain order. And at one point in time in history, we see that he had a greater following than Jesus Christ. Similarly, when Islam came into being, when the message of Islam was delivered by the Prophet of Allah, the deity of worship, in Islam, we see that it came with an extreme revolutionary message that denied all forms of social orders that existed prior to it, which were based on a compromise of the level of knowledge that existed prior to that particular point in time. So what was so different about the monotheistic religion of Islam and the ones prior to Islam? It brought about an aspect of free will. It brought about an aspect of inquisition. It brought about, in no ambiguous terms, it brought about and identified liberties, human liberties. And it brought about a legal code that established equality and equity amongst people in the society. So essentially, if you look into the difference between prior religions as they did exist and Islam, the revolutionary aspect of the message of Islam rests upon equality. That means there is not going to be any gender bias. There is not going to be any color bias. There is not going to be any racism. There is not going to be any form of segmentization in society. And the only difference between one human and another will rest upon his or her level of knowledge and his or her contribution to the welfare of the society. Then, the cherry on the pie in in the message of Islam was that there is no compulsion. That means the merit of the message was so strong that God, in His infinite wisdom, did not want the enforcement of any aspect of the religion onto society, but presented the message on the basis of the merit it embodied. It is with this background that we have to view Islam. We have to go further and also view Islam for a factor of universal brotherhood or social unity. And that is so significant that it demolishes all factors of economic secularism, which is based on depriving one aspect of the society by another for economic gain. That means societies that do exist on the planet exist on a commonwealth of nature that essentially does not belong to them, but is entrusted to them, and therefore it has to be equitably shared. And the yardstick on the basis of which it has to be shared is determined by a criteria of charity, of what you can give. So in essence, what it is conveying is that those who give to society of whatever they have, of wealth, knowledge, strength, and wisdom, are heroes of society. And those who take away from society through the acts of usurpation, through the acts of war, through the acts of oppression, are the zeros of society. So this is a message of total harmony, total peace, total compassion and love. And the apex of the message has been portrayed in one of the rituals of Islam called Hajj, the pilgrimage people are required to make once in a lifetime if they can afford it. So the three stages of social evolution are displayed in Hajj. The first stage is Arafat, which is awareness. The second stage is Mahshar or Muzdalifah as we call it. knowledge. And the third stage of Hajj is or love, Mina. Now this is what the message of Islam proposes for bringing about social order. You have to get aware. You have, through inquisition, be knowledgeable, and through the act of love, be able to remain charitable, compassionate towards your own kind. So when the preamble of Islam was asked about from the Prophet by somebody who was unaware of what Islam is, he responded with one sentence, and that was obedience to Allah, ati Allah, and being of service to everything He has created. So these are the paramount features of the religion of Islam, and they are undoubtedly revolutionary, and they surpass any other message which has visited the planet. There is another significant aspect of Islam which requires a mention here, and that is the law of evidence. Now here we have a deity, and that deity is introduced to us with a signature statement of La ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah. And this, from the philosophical perspective and from any logical platform, presents a very, very interesting discourse on how do we view a deity we can't see, we can't touch, we can't feel, we know nothing about, on the basis of our existing capabilities. So the law of evidence comes in tandem with the message of Allah in the Quran. And for everything He has created, and for everything that He expects of the followers of Islam to indulge in, the law of evidence is fundamental. The creation of Adam, the destruction of mankind and its resurrection with Noah, the prophet, are all factors where He has provided a principal witness, and that was in the personage of His prophet. For any follower of Islam, it is basic, it is fundamental, it is commonplace for him to inquire about the deity he is required to worship. And therefore, the message of Islam is padded with evidence. And the message of Islam is yet again regulated for the recognition of the deity of worship by signs, signs of creation. So if we take religion as a superhuman power, force, factor of existence, then the evidence is the personage of the Prophet. When it comes to the personage of the Prophet, we see that there are people in the Islamic history who have laid down their life for an unknown God, unseen God. So there were acts performed by the Prophet in denial of rationality that became the basis for the followers of Islam to essentially accept the existence of their deity of worship, i.e. Allah. Now this aspect of the provision of evidence in the family of the Prophet has also remained constant in succession. And these figures, these personalities that did emerge in history have upheld in the most unique way the existence of Allah by providing evidence, not only in writing, not by words, but also by giving away or parting with their lives. And that in itself presents the biggest factor of truth. I recall the saying of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that every truth has proof, every right has light, and this is universally applicable when it comes to acknowledging the existence of the deity of Allah. We have to address two more issues. One is the factor of bidimensionalism in the nature of Allah, presenting His attributes, and the second thing which we have to address here is the fracturing of the message of Allah as was presented or as does exist. The aspect of bidimensionalism, to understand the attributes of the deity of our worship for Allah, is that when He introduces Himself in Surah Nur, it starts off by saying, Ana Nur, which means to say, I am light. It does not have any form, so that is the basis of creation. And then He's introduced with 99 attributes in the form of names, which are two poles, and this is all relevant for the management of society because religion is the social science for the management of societies. When he introduces himself, it is in a divide of two poles. That he is merciful, he is forgiving, he is beneficial, at the same time, he is one who penalizes, who punishes, who avenges. So these are the two extreme poles on the basis of which he has introduced himself. Similarly, he sends a prophet and he introduces him as a blessing for all creation. Rahmatul lil Alameen. But when we see the life of the prophet, we see that one who is a blessing for all creation is also going to war, is also using the sword. And therefore, his personage is bidimensional, just like the personage of Allah, bidimensional. He sends a book called the Quran and introduces the Quran as a book of knowledge, everything wet and dry. It's a book of knowledge. The same book, when used incorrectly, is being used for sorcery, for witchcraft. Therefore, the existence of the book, again, is bidimensional. Then he introduces to us our own creation, our own existence. And he says, I made you from rooted sand, clay, which to our minds, to a mortal mind, is the lowest form of anything created. Mud, clay, nothing. And then he says that after he created our form, he exhaled his spirit into that form. In essence, declaring that our being is also bidimensional. Two extremes. The lowest and the highest form of purity, i.e. the spirit of Allah. Then he introduces his religion and he says, this is deen. Deen really means a road. And it has two destinations, hell and heaven. And he gives you what he has created as the best of his creation. A liberty. A liberty to exercise free will. You are free to tread towards hell. You are free to tread towards heaven. So, Islam, by comparison to all other religions past, which are divine, all those religions created by men and have a following, do not permit, do not allow the liberty which can be referred to the exercise of free will. And this free will, in essence, is at the root of all research, of all forms of inquisition to arrive to a factor of what is the bedrock of the religion or the truth. Because when you take the message of Islam and you want to probe into the fundamental job description of this creation, i.e., the Homo sapien race, us, the people, then you will come across that to remain in the search of the truth. That means we cannot, at any point in time, under any circumstances of law, social order, or politics, be consigned in an environment based on illiteracy. A follower of Islam has to be literate and has to remain in the constant search of the truth. Because it is not religion. Religion is only an SOP. It's a standard operating procedure. It is a set of beliefs that make you a practicing follower of any religion. What you believe. So if you remain in the constant search of the truth, the level of your belief will keep getting formulated and will keep evolving. And this process of evolution has been made again in the message of Islam incumbent upon us, where compulsive and constant migration has been ordained in the dictum. But that migration is not physical, it is mental. So the level of your knowledge today must not be the level of your knowledge tomorrow, because tomorrow your knowledge base must transit into a higher level, must move a notch ahead. Let's stop here as far as religion is concerned, and as far as Islam is concerned. It is one of the most dynamic religions and ways of life to follow. Free of bigotry, free of constraints, total liberties to exercise free will. And that free will revolves around essentially your ability to question. And that questioning enables civilizations evolve, get upgraded, move a notch ahead. So while Islam is what it is, and as I have explained, this exercise of free will was at the root of what one can refer to as modernity, because modernity to a rational mind, to a clear-headed thought, would mean being just, would mean being knowledgeable, would mean compassion, would mean social justice, would mean material justice. And that is modernity. Now, when these two open liberties that have been given to you for understanding modernity, for understanding religion, particularly the religion of Islam, we have to come back after this prelude to examine what the Muslim societies around the world, and particularly within the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, are lumbered with. We see predominantly that the liberties given by our deity of worship, Allah, in His message to His Prophet, have been usurped. The unity has been fractured and politicized. So the concept of universal brotherhood, as is manifest in the word Ummah, does not exist. And essentially, a class of people within society who are responsible for having caused this are referred to the clergy. This very message of Allah has equated the official clergy with dogs and donkeys. Theology, the knowledge of religion, teachers cannot be put in the same basket as clergy. The clergy, which I am referring to, are people who have used the message for economic and political gain, personal or as paid employees of any usurper in history. Then, when we see modernity as is manifest today in our social order, we find people talking of liberal Islam. Islam isn't liberal. You can't be more liberal than this message. You take the history of religions. It's giving you the exercise of free will, it's giving you liberties. So what modernity has been confused with is Western indoctrinated secularism. Get drunk, take off your clothes, practice all those acts that the Western societies are plagued with, so that you can be identified or put into the bracket for being modern. Modernity has got nothing to do with the monkey syndrome as is manifesting or as it is presented in sociology, where you start copying somebody else. The very definition of modernity has got nothing to do with attires, with your indulgences. The factor of modernity rests on the level of truth which you have arrived at as a belief after your research. That is modernity. So modernity, when confused with Western economic prosperity, takes you off the bank. Because Western social orders today are based on secularism and are based on a pseudo form of feudalism in the garb and the visage of Western democracy, the garb and the visage of Western human rights laws. This is beautifully screened. So it is now incumbent for people of the Islamic faith or of the people who are concerned, and not Islamic faith, but are concerned about peace, harmony in the global, amongst the global population. Rise and identify the real essence of religion, and particularly the latest being Islam, the real essence of modernity and the ethos of modernity, and then identify the conflict that does exist in both these issues and how they are manifest on your screens and in your journal, disseminated knowledge which you receive from the media. As we do this, we have to be very conscious of the fact that the bastions of this message of Islam, i.e. the Muslim community, 1/5 of the world, have to revert to the essence of the message, have to unify in their ranks because the message so demands, and have to shed their deformed, distorted concept of modernity as they have adopted by viewing the material prosperity of the West as the symbol of modernity. There are different types of names which come up, like liberal Islam, like Islam which is based on fundamentalism, Islam which is based on terrorism. This is all hogwash. It has no leg to stand, it defies logic, it defies the truth about the religion. Similarly, about modernity, you see people using things which are not good for their health, indulging in factors which they have no knowledge about, and how it affects their peace and harmony, with a notion that whatever they are indulging in, whatever they are doing, is a requirement of social acceptability or being moral. The factors that have caused this distortion, in my understanding, and God knows better, have been the liberty we have allowed because of our peaceful nature as a community to be wrought of the commonwealth of nature which belongs to us. That wealth went to people who do not or did not believe in material justice and social equity, and they use the wealth for technological advancement, which makes them, or which presents them as prosperous societies, organized, literate, and prosperous. And in the same yardstick, it pushes us the bearers of this message, the followers of this message, into the dumps of social disintegration and economic bankruptcy. It has become incumbent that we redefine and review both the aspect of Islam and the aspect of modernity, so that from the perspective of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, we can chart a new course on how we manage our societies and how we govern them for the benefit of us, the people, and in consonance with the belief we have so adopted. Thank you.